Audacity as Assessment, or as an alternative way to assess students. This is one of those ones where I think that you as the teacher can get really creative with and find lots of ways to use this for your students, which I have found throughout the course of doing this project to be a very handy and informative tool to use, not only for me but for my student as well, and for even as us together. I've really enjoyed this aspect of my project. And I'm not gonna go and list everything that you can do because I feel like I could talk about it for a long time. But I hope that in what I do try to explain right now that you start to come up with some ideas. So you'll see in the link below this video on my presentation me having a dialogue little lesson time with one of my ELL students, right? He's a first grader, and he's reading texts from a song that we sing. I recorded him, we listened back to it so he can hear where his problem spots are at, so it was a form for him to assess himself, right? And then it was also even good for me just to have on hand instead of just this document that tells me he's at this level for here, he's at this level for reading, his comprehension. You know, it's kind of nice to have some audible evidence. So this was within the course of just recording him and listening to it, he was able to kind of hear his problem spots. If he couldn't correct it himself, then I would jump in, and then I edited the track in Audacity to add me clearly saying the text. That way, if I ever send it to him, or if I use it in the future, he can listen to himself and then hear me say the words and then go back to the words. We can use audio recording in all sorts of ways for our students to help them with their pronunciation of words, with their comprehension of English language, with their reading ability, and even with their listening. Again, I find this so important and extremely valuable to use with your students if you're not already using it. We can even use Audacity with ELLs for them to do a verbal essay or a speech as an alternative way to assess their understanding of the content. This could be really great for your students that are really struggling with writing, the ELL students who are in their beginner stage of writing, but maybe they're advanced speakers. And I'm not saying to totally shy away from them writing. Of course, we're teachers, we want to enhance every area of learning and development, but it could be just a great way to assess their understanding of the content as well. Again, I'm not saying to shy away completely from writing, but this is just a tool that is available to alternatively assess your student, and that can in the future help them with their writing. Now, just very briefly, I also just wanted to talk about your students. I don't have any students specifically, but maybe you do, that are physically impaired where maybe they can't write or they can't type. This can be a really great way for you to use as an assessment, not as an alternative way like with the ELLs, but as the form of assessing students, because they may not have the ability to write or type an essay. Now, this is where I ask you to come in because I don't have too many examples of how we can use this with the students who are physically impaired or impaired in other ways, right? But I hope that you really take this to heart and see how the recording world and Audacity can be used in such valuable ways to assess our students.